Hello, thank you for joining the Louisiana Environmental Justice Listening Session hosted by the Environmental Protection Agency, Gulf of Mexico Division. I am Lakeisha Robertson, Chief of Staff for the Gulf of Mexico Division, and I will be serving as your facilitator for tonight's session. Just a few notes to keep in mind. The chat box is reserved for technical issues. Please use the question and answer box to pose any questions. To start tonight's session, we will have opening remarks by Cecil Rodriguez, Acting Deputy Regional Administrator of the Region 6 office. Cecil, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Louisiana Environmental Justice Listening Session to obtain input that will help develop an upcoming $5 million grant announcement. These new grants will benefit the Gulf states of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, and Florida. Tonight's session is hosted by the United States Environmental Protection Agency's Gulf of Mexico Division. This evening's listening session is particularly important given that the many environmental challenges Louisiana has endured, from the devastating impacts of hurricanes to the man-made challenges like the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. We want to understand how your community has been impacted. We want to work with you to devise funding opportunities that intentionally address problems. We are grateful for the opportunity to hear firsthand the voices of community members and community leaders. Dr. Nance, the Regional Administrator for EPA Region 6, is unfortunately on travel and couldn't join us today. We know that we are listening attentively and taking notes on your concerns and ideas as you help us to identify areas in which EPA can assist with environmental and public health challenges. Region 6, working in partnership with the Gulf of Mexico Division, is committed to amplifying the agency's efforts to meaningfully engage stakeholders in actions or decisions as we work to protect public health and the environment. We want to work with you to identify issues and develop sustainable solutions. The request for applications, once released, will aim to address specific locally identified issues and will foundationally help us to create thriving, resilient communities. As Mark Wyatt walks you through the overview of the Gulf of Mexico Division and its priorities, please consider sharing your thoughts on issues the $5 million investment can support. We are committed to you and to protecting your communities. We value the input and look forward to continuing engagement as we work to create strong communities and eliminate environmental injustices. Your voices have been heard, and we are committed to working hand in hand with you. Now, let me turn it back over to Lakeisha Robertson, facilitator for tonight's listening session. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil, for your opening remarks. Now we will have Mark Wyatt, Director of the Gulf of Mexico Division, provide an overview on the Gulf of Mexico Division's priorities. Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lakeisha. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedules and their evening to join us, and would like to say that we would appreciate any comments or thoughts that you have. It will really help us in the development of this RFA. And to get us started, I would like to tell you a little bit about the Gulf of Mexico Division and what we do to help you kind of understand what kind of projects we can do. And so to get started about the Gulf of Mexico Division, also in the release of our first environmental justice request for applications, this first slide would kind of gives you a little bit of idea of the Gulf and the region. The Gulf of Mexico is recognized worldwide as a vast and productive body of water with tremendous ecological, economic, and social value. The Gulf of Mexico watershed is made up of 33 major rivers draining from 31 U.S. states and a large portion of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico coastline in the United States itself is over 1,630 miles long. Due to its expanse and value, the Gulf of Mexico Division responds to numerous environmental challenges facing the Gulf, including but not limited to excess nutrients that cause hypoxic conditions, trash polluting waterways, flooding, and degradation and loss of natural features such as wetlands that provide vital ecosystem services. The Gulf of Mexico Division is a geographic program within EPA. Our work is centered around preserving and protecting the Gulf. The way we do that is by funding assistance agreements based on our statutory authority to conduct demonstration projects, investigations, and supporting research. Since its inception in 1988, the Gulf of Mexico Division, with the cooperation of its partners, successfully implements and funds projects that lead to a thriving ecosystem. The projects center on our 4 measures: habitat restoration, environmental education and outreach, community resilience, and water quality. Habitat restoration focuses on improving and/or restoring water and habitat quality in watersheds throughout the 5 Gulf states and the Mississippi River Basin. Environmental education and outreach, like its name says, focuses on promoting and supporting environmental education and outreach. Community resilience focuses on supporting the development and implementation of coast improvement programs, projects, and tools to enhance community planning, risk assessment, green infrastructure, and smart growth implementation. And finally, water quality, last but not least, focuses on protecting, enhancing, and/or restoring coastal and upland habitats. In each of our 4 measures, there are numerous types of projects that we have funded or have been involved with. Some of the habitat restoration projects we've funded include creating pollinator gardens, organizing community urban tree plantings, installing living shorelines, dune and marsh restoration planting events, and administering prescribed burns in some of our southeastern forests. This work helps provide protection from storm damage, supports commercial and recreational fisheries, provides nesting and foraging habitat for birds and other wildlife, protects pollinators, and improves water quality for recreational use and aquatic life. All of our efforts are cornerstones to environmental stewardship. Our goal is to heighten citizens' appreciation of the Gulf, which is believed to lead to positive behavioral practices. This can be accomplished by developing hands-on environmental initiatives and engaging citizens in restoration programs and projects. For example, we've funded projects that have created K-12 lesson plans and educational modules focused on numerous environmental topics, projects that gather community support for various programs, and projects like restoration plannings or participating in water quality monitoring trainings. In addition, our staff have participated in career days, field trips, and service learning projects with our grantees that teach the importance of our environment and environmental stewardship. We've even funded a project that helps students develop their reading and writing skills through reading their own environmentally themed stories over the radio. Community resilience is the capability to anticipate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from significant multi-hazard threats with minimum damage to social well-being, the economy, and the environment. We support community capacity building through vulnerability assessments and the development of adaptive capacity or resilience plans to assist communities in preparing for potential changes in the environment or future disruptive events. For example, we've funded projects that provide workforce development training for underserved communities like water quality training, green infrastructure training and maintenance, prescribed burn certifications, and more. We've also funded the development of indexes, tools, and guides for community resilience planning, as well as projects that use stakeholder participation for resilience planning and vulnerability assessments. We continuously work with Gulf Coast states to maximize efficiency and utility of water quality monitoring efforts for local managers. We support efforts to improve water and habitat quality to meet water quality standards throughout the 5 Gulf states and the Mississippi River Basin. Some of the funded project activities include pollution source tracking, the installment of litter getters to rid waterways of trash, working with local fishing communities to remove and document derelict crab traps, using floating wetlands to reduce excess nutrients, installing living shorelines or other green infrastructure projects that help improve water quality, sediment erosion, or stormwater flow, and projects that have trained local community members as water quality leaders. As you can see, we've shown numerous project examples that the Gulf of Mexico Division has funded and participated in, but I'd like a second to emphasize the intersectionality of the projects and measures. For example, while a habitat restoration project may restore coastal marshes, it often has an education component by including community volunteers or educating the public about the restoration project. Restoring coastal marshes would also improve storm resiliency by providing flood protection and can improve water quality through the capture of nutrients and sediments. Many of our projects involve multiple measures, and I mention this to ensure that the projects we've showed are not viewed in isolation to their measure, but instead are viewed as holistic, and that they incorporate multiple, if not all, of our measures. And that's just a very, well, I'd like to say a quick synopsis of the Gulf of Mexico Division. Before I hand it back over to Lakeisha, I would like to say again, please speak up and give us your input. We really need it to help us craft this RFA because we want to make it really do something that the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. The highlighted projects that Mark talked about are a few examples of the great work being done on the coast funded by the Gulf of Mexico Division, all of which can be replicated in your communities. The development of our new environmental justice request for applications will build upon our 4 measures while focusing on environmental justice issues. We plan to award $5 million across the 5 Gulf states, with approximately $1 million in each Gulf state. So that's $1 million that we're planning to invest in Louisiana. How can you leverage the Gulf of Mexico Division's 4 focus areas? Habitat restoration, environmental education, outreach, community resilience, and water quality to address environmental justice needs of your community. We need to hear from you to best inform the development of our RFA. This RFA is all about being intentional and building on what we hear tonight from you all as you provide input. So please, as I'm talking through some examples and then providing some direction in terms of how to provide the input tonight, just start thinking about those measures that you heard that Mark spoke on just a few minutes ago and the examples he provided, and think about what we can do in your community to improve the conditions there. One example I want to provide, just to give some thought, some food for thought, I should say, as you start thinking about the issues in your community. An example, I live in a community where flooding is a huge concern in the historic First Ward, a low-income, minority-majority neighborhood. Rapid development around this area has increased storm runoff and trash accumulation in the local bayous, and it has created choking points that increase flooding risk in many parts of the First Ward. These issues affect the community's resilience due to the increased flooding risk, and the trash field and bayous are causing a water quality concern. That's just an example of one thing to think about as you're considering the issues in your community. Before we start the comment portion of this webinar, here are the instructions. If you wish to make a comment, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature below, or on your phone, press *9. Once your name has been called, please unmute your line or press *6 on the phone and limit your response to 3 minutes or less. Please remember to unselect the raise hand button and mute your microphone when you have finished your response. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A box, or you may email us questions after the session is complete. Please note that all questions submitted via the Q&A box will be answered within the same forum. Again, questions submitted via the Q&A box will not be addressed live. We plan to have our last comment around 7:45. However, if we have any extra time and you'd like to speak again, you are more than welcome to raise your hand. Lastly, we'd like to remind everyone that this session, along with the comment period, is being recorded and will be available on our website following tonight's session. Please remember to introduce yourself and give a brief description of your community's needs and how the Gulf of Mexico Division focus areas can help address the issues. Now, at this moment, we're gonna take input from you all. And please, we wanna hear from you. We wanna take the information that you provide to us tonight to develop the request for applications. As everyone has mentioned, this request for applications is meant to be very intentional. So the information we receive from you all will help inform the development of the request for applications and will help to inform the $1 million investment in Louisiana. So right now, I will pause to see if we have any participants that would like to provide input.
We have someone on the phone.
Okay, I see a hand, 2 hands raised. Andrea, I don't see the phone.
Yeah, there's Raymond Sweet has his hand up.
Okay, so I see Raymond Sweet. If you want to unmute yourself, Raymond. Raymond, are you there? Okay, I think we lost Raymond. I see Angela Chalk.
Hello.
Oh, Raymond, okay.
Yeah, they had to readjust, I guess.
Okay, okay.
I would like to add, I'm Raymond Sweet. I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana. We work on green infrastructure in the Treme community and in other communities in New Orleans. And the thing that I would like to offer is that we don't use language like innovative and brand new and avoid and brand new kinds of things. There are projects that we're working on now that we could use money to support the things that we're already doing. And most of the work that we do, most of green infrastructure has already been designed. It already exists. So using words like it needs to be innovative, brand new, and those types of things, sometimes it's not fair to the smaller communities. And we would like the funds to come directly to the community groups as opposed to going through the city and going through the state and all these other people that have to have their hands on it. And by the time it gets to the community, there is no money left to actually do installation for the projects. So I just want to just keep in mind that we don't use some of the language that has already been used in these grant and RFA proposals that eliminate people, but let's use language that encourages people from all walks of life, all groups, all nonprofit organizations to participate.
Thank you, Raymond. Next up, we'll have Angela Chalk. Angela, if you want to come on and unmute yourself, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good afternoon. Thank you all for having this session. I am founder and executive director for Health and Community Services and a new grantee for from EPA. But as it relates to other issues with community environmental education and outreach, how is it that community organizations can do more to educate residents, businesses, as well as developers and contractors about environmental issues that impact us, especially those developers and contractors that don't use best practices in communities of color. So can there be some sort of, I, for lack of a better word, a summit or that offers workshops that people can become more aware of the activities that are within the EPA office?
Angela,
Thank yeah.
thank you, Angela. I think part of that we'll have to get back to you on. All right, next we have Scott. If you would unmute yourself, please.
Hello, this is Scott Eustace. I'm the Community Science Director for Healthy Gulf, based out of New Orleans, but working across the Gulf Coast. I suppose happy to see this money, but echoing some of the concerns that we have a lot of unfunded projects across the coast that perhaps aren't very new, but have been kind of neglected. I'm thinking in my work, particularly, I have Plaquemines Parish in mind, where there are many plans for restoration, but during the last different parish administrations, they just haven't been affected. Some of those are your traditional habitat restoration projects, and they can be very many millions of dollars. But when we think about environmental justice in rural areas of Louisiana, even we ourselves as an environmental organization find ourselves applying for funding to do, say, genealogy for African American settlements that need protection of their cemeteries, which have become de-documented and vulnerable to excavation by industry. So that kind of study, a historical study, in order to protect the cultural resources is very important, we have found, and I hope that these monies will be open to that kind of funding as land restoration and land, talk about habitat restoration, restoring the history of the land is very important for people who continue to live on our coast in the face of all the industrial and climate pressures. I think similarly, some of the Native American folks in Barataria Bay have applied for, habitat funding, particularly wetland restoration around sacred sites, but also funding for cultural preservation, in particular language or practices. So we hope that that kind of cultural funding that's extremely important to environmental justice communities on the coast to preserve their cultures in the face of climate change and the industrial pressures. We hope that those those kinds of applications could move forward through this process. But yeah, just echoing the Miss Angela's request for some workshops, because often the application process is very burdensome, and we struggle ourselves with the EPA application process. So with that, I'll just cede the remainder of my time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you, Scott. Next, we'll have Angelina. If you would unmute yourself, please. Thanks.
Yeah, hi. My name is Angelina Harrison. I'm the director of markets for Market Umbrella. We run the Crescent City Farmers Markets in New Orleans. I'm happy to join all these folks, some of whom I know and some of whom I don't. But I guess I don't have an answer, but I will express a problem that we continually have. Our markets support very small agricultural producers who just inherently are engaged in more sustainable agricultural practices. And yet our producers and support organizations that work to support those producers have a really hard time accessing USDA food dollars, be it through LAMP, like the Farmers Market Promotion Program or Local Food Promotion Program, or even value-added producer grants. So we're not able to access those funds. But you know, and I'm not really seeing how small and local agriculture exactly. I guess I'm struggling to see the tie-in with any of these four focus groups. I mean, focus areas. And so I'm wondering if part of the thing here could be funding that entices small producers or encourages the ones who are already working in more sustainable practices to adopt or increase practices that are less chemically intensive, more sustainable growing practices, which are also, you know, also support more sustainable food systems. Like we've seen a lot of resilience through COVID and through IDA with a more resilient food system. And I guess I'm thinking about the environmental education and outreach component. What I've seen in the time that I've been working in local food here, which is over a decade, is that the consumer priority is on fresh and local and not necessarily on sustainably grown produce. And so again, just to echo what people are saying here, like a consumer education component or workshops, or I don't know what that exactly would look like, but to drive a market for, so like supporting supply and demand side of preference for sustainably grown local produce.
Thank you, Angelina. Next, we'll have Christine. If you would unmute yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Christine Verde. I am a member of the Portage Indian tribe, and each one of you have already addressed some of the issues we've had with our burial sites being affected with coastal erosion, or food sustainability being affected with that, vegetation as well as seafood. And so what we face is we have nonprofits who have, wait, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So we do have a levee system in our community, but we also have our neighboring community, who is one tribal, a tribe who's beginning to relocate, and that is not what our tribe wants to do. We want to stay where we're at. So that means that we are really relying on help to put buffers, because right now we are the buffer, and hopefully continue to live the way we're living or get back some of the things that we've lost. We do have a few nonprofits who have partnered with us to hopefully fix some of these, remediate what's already happened. So one thing is canals have been dug in our property, tribal property, and so which has exceeded erosion more than before. So one thing that we're hoping to get funded is a project through the Glass Half Full organization to do backfilling of canals that are eroding near our sacred sites, near our burial mounds. So I guess my thing is that these fundings be put, just like the guy in Treme said, like to be used on the projects, not to be used with the study. We've studied it. We know what's going on. Not to be used to pay a bunch of people to continue researching, but to be put in the area where it needs to be, which is our coastal protection.
Thank you so much, Christine. Now we'll have Patty. Patty, if you want to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So sorry, I raised my hand, and I'm also from the Pointe-au-Tremont Indian tribe, so I'll just not speak as long since Christine just spoke, but I just wanted to mention that Pointe-au-Tremont is in the fastest eroding area in the United States. And we face a lot of coastal erosion and impacts of sea level rise. And like others have mentioned, we have cemeteries and sacred sites that are impacted by this, and also villages where we used to live, as well as access to our medicinal plants and community gardens. And so one of the things that I was thinking about in applying for these sorts of grant applications is if there could be technical assistance to help support the application process. If when you are submitting the guidelines could ensure that we're a state recognized tribe, so to ensure that state recognized tribe and nonprofits can apply. Because we have limited access to funding, to hopefully not have a matching requirement. And as Christine mentioned, you know, our livelihoods are disrupted by the environment. So I see the habitat restoration, but also the resilience, community resilience as a big factor for our community to continue our culture, language, and our lifeways, which includes fishing, gardening, and medicinal plants. So thinking about all those resilience efforts that could be supported through grants, and to not require, and I don't know if y'all do require this, but to not require that a project for habitat restoration be in the state master plan. Because that's been a limiting factor in the past. And I think that they're re-looking at that in the state. But since these are federal funds, there are projects that could take into account traditional ecological knowledge and underserved communities and how to use that TEK and blend it with Western science. That would be good because that's something that we're working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Thanks so much, everyone, for the input we've received so far tonight. And again, I invite others to provide input as well. As we've mentioned, we want to make sure this request for applications truly speak to or addresses the needs in your communities. And so your input is vital in the process. And so I'll pause here for a second just to give folks a minute or two to just give some thought around what we're asking, but we want to hear from you. We want to make sure the $1 million investment in Louisiana truly addresses the needs and concerns that we've heard tonight. All right, Cynthia, if you would unmute, please.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Cynthia Robertson. I'm with Micah 6-8 Mission in the Lake Charles area. We have been working, we'd like to see resilient rebuilding retrofitting for low-income, smaller or rural communities and neighborhoods. We should not wait for damage to roofs from a storm, which costs more and causes so much distress to the folks whose homes are damaged. We're already doing resilient rebuilding work here in Southwest Louisiana for those folks who suffered and are suffering the distress even now, 2 years after the Laura Delta events. but educating about and retrofitting roofs would make a huge difference in the resilience in our areas. And forgive me, my dogs have decided it's time to play and fight. Um, and I echo, we need to get the funds to local, smaller nonprofits and community organizations who are on the ground already doing this work, and make the application and the subsequent reporting requirements and match, if any, um, doable for those of us who are on the ground doing the work now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Next, we'll have Jane. Jane, if you want to unmute yourself, please. Jane, I think you're unmuted if you want to begin.
I'm so sorry. I thought you could hear me.
No worries.
I'm Jane Follett. I'm in Central Louisiana in Alexandria. I work with the Good Food Project, which is a program of the Food Bank of Central Louisiana. We are a model community garden program, so we install sustainable gardens all across the 11 parish Central Louisiana region that the food bank serves. And we've seen in the last few years with the pandemic an increase in the need for food, of course, but also in the desire for gardens and for community gardens. And so we're hoping to address, the issue with food deserts that have, that are across the state, being one of the, the hardest hit for areas where people have, low access to transportation and food. We're doing a lot of mobilizing. We have a mobile pantry unit, but I guess I'd like to see more funding directed at increasing community gardens and allowing people to have access to learning how to grow their own food, so that we can address that need in our community, because that is increasingly becoming the best way to make long-term changes in Central Louisiana. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jane. We appreciate your input. Again, we definitely want to hear from you all tonight. We've heard some great input thus far, and we want to know from you what your needs and concerns are. Earlier in the presentation, we discussed habitat restoration projects such as shoreline planted, salt marsh restored. We also discussed a seagrass restoration project where derelict crab traps and marine debris were also removed. Are there any habitat restoration projects that might be needed in your community, for example? We want to hear from you all tonight. We want to make sure we are addressing the needs and concerns that you have. And so we want to understand your issues. And I think, Angela, your hand has been raised again. If you want to unmute yourself, please. Can you all hear me okay? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I thought maybe I had bad connection on my end.
All right.
Go ahead, Angela. Apologize
All right.
for that.
That's okay. I don't think people realize that New Orleans has both urban and rural settings, and we are in need of assistance with coastal resilience and restoration of habitat. When we start looking at the eastern New Orleans section of the city and the lower coast Algiers section of the city, those areas are front facing marshlands that require more educational engagement around just how close the city of New Orleans is to our coastal shorelines. If you look at the watershed, we're right there when you exit Lake Pontchartrain into Lake Bourne and Chandelier Sounds, and just how close and just how much we have in common with both St. Bernard and Plaquemines parishes. And so, yes, there is a need for coastal resiliency work and habitat restoration in our both, and I'm not speaking for anyone else, but Orleans, St. Bernard, and Plaquemines, because those parishes are adjacent to one another. So I would not leave that segment of the needs focus areas off the table. So thank you, and I yield my time back.
Thank you, Angela. And if there are others, if you've spoken and you would like to provide additional input, please raise your hand. And those on the phone, if you would like to provide input as well, please dial *9 on your phone. Angelina, please unmute yourself, please.
Hey, I just can't help but think about this in like a systems lens. And while we're being asked to, think in particular about our community experiences the result of, what did you say, 33 states' behaviors. And I just wonder, how do we tie the needs that we experience here with the dead zone in the Gulf and coastal erosion into the activities in the other, Mississippi River watershed states?
Angelina, we can definitely respond to that following tonight's session.
Okay.
Thank you for the additional input. We invite others to also provide input. I think I see Raymond. I believe you're, I'm sorry, Raymond, it was Cynthia. I think it's Cynthia. And then Raymond. Cynthia, if you want to unmute yourself.
Okay. One thing I wanted to say was that in Southwest Louisiana, so many of the community members are unwilling or reluctant to even participate in speaking out about the environmental degradation that is caused by I think 15 or 16 petrochemical and other plants around here. So there's a definite need for education of adults as well as in the classroom. So I would like to make sure that educational component is really stressed so that we can begin to have movement in these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And Raymond, if you would like to speak at this time, I believe you're unmuted, I'm sorry. Raymond, are you still there?
Give us a moment. We're trying to unmute him.
Okay.
Apologies, panelists. Raymond Sweet is using an older version of Zoom. We can promote him to panelist to allow Raymond Sweet to talk. Let me go ahead and begin that process.
He's already in, Troy. He's already in. He can speak now.
Nice, thanks.
Oh, you just called me out too, but it's all good. Sorry, I can't afford the newer version. If I had some of this money. Now I have a question and that you may or may not be able to answer. I heard $1 million and then I saw a $5 million written down here below. Is there a reason why someone's saying 1 million and then I see $5 million? Maybe that's for the region versus $1 million is coming to each state.
That's absolutely correct. So across the Gulf of Mexico region, from Florida to Texas, we're investing $5 million total. But in each of the 5 Gulf states, we're going to invest $1 million per state.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Raymond. Do we have additional input tonight? Additional comments? Again, we definitely want to hear from you all to make sure all of your concerns have been raised and that we can incorporate those into our request for applications. And I also want to remind those that are on the phone, if you would like to provide input, please press *9 on your phone. We need your help in developing the request for applications. We need your help in devising an RFP or RFA, I should say, that truly speaks to the needs in Louisiana so that we can make sure the $1 million investment is of benefit to your community. One of the other measures we discussed today is the environmental education and outreach, where students were trained to perform water quality monitoring. K through 12 have career days and field trips, preparing K through 12 youth for environmentally related jobs. Are there environmental education and outreach needs in your community? And we've heard from a few folks about some of the environmental education programs that could be of benefit to their community. And we want to hear from everyone. Do you have any environmental education needs, or are there other areas of concerns that you want to talk about tonight as it relates to the 4 measures here? Habitat restoration, community resilience, water quality, and of course, environmental education and outreach. We want to make sure the $5 million investment is worthwhile for the Gulf of Mexico states across the board. And we truly want to make sure that the $1 million going to Louisiana is of benefit to communities. Your input is pivotal as we develop our requests for applications. So please don't hold back. We want to hear from you all. Hey, Cynthia, if you want to unmute, you may.
Yes, I know I talk too much.
No, you don't. We welcome your input. Thank you.
Okay, the thing, what I'm wondering is that throughout Louisiana, we have had, I know particularly in my area, but I know it's throughout Louisiana, we have problems with our water infrastructure. Now, that is not only because of storms, but it is definitely exacerbated by one, pollutants from the groundwater and from the aquifer, but also when we have hurricanes and power goes out and the water systems lose pressure, and then we pop them back up and they get all the crud on the inside of the pipes starts to come out after the storms, and we have to really flush the systems. And so it would be nice to see some of this money be available to go towards in community resilience towards drinking water infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Angela, you're up.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you my wish list. I'm not shy, and I know a lot of the folks that's on the call right now, so I'm just gonna give you my wish list. It would be reforestation both our urban settings and our rural settings to help break that the effects of wind as it approaches our coast during times of severe weather events. Then I would look at the riparian the booms that you use to stop trash from getting in that's in the drainage canals that gets to the pump. Somehow that we could do that restoration of those canals to stop trash from getting into the pumps, because we know that it takes nature-based solutions as well as the drains, the pumps, and the canals. And then to Angelina's point, and I put the comment in there, it all relates to both public health, access to food, but if we have a changing climate that crops don't know which season it is, we just need some way to realize the environmental effects that it plays on how we in urban settings and in rural settings grow crops. So working together with EPA, USDA, other federal agencies, how can we come together if it means having a summit to pull all of these ideas together? Because you jump to an RFA, but if someone doesn't have the capacity to, as a community organization, to execute or implement whatever desires we have for our community, then what's going to happen is that the larger groups are going to fill out the request, get funded, and then community organizations are still going to be left in the bind doing the work on small shoestring budgets. So if we're looking at this, and I don't know if it can legally be done, if you're targeting community organizations that are on the ground doing the work, that have designs, that have plans, I think if you brought us all together and let us, in somewhat in the way that you're doing tonight, if you brought us all together in a formal fashion, that we can say, hey, this is what we need, which is what we're doing tonight, and this is the resources that EPA can provide and technical support that can be provided within your within what EPA is able to do. Thank you, and I promise you I won't say anything else tonight.
Oh, you're more than welcome to say as much as you want, Angela. Thank you. Next, we have someone on the phone, and I can see the last 3 digits, 994. If you want to unmute, you may proceed with speaking. And I believe you can press *6 on your phone to unmute. Is that right? Am I saying that right?
Yes, I think you're unmuted now.
Okay.
This is Wilma Subra of Louisiana Environmental Action Network. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So when Cynthia was talking about water infrastructure, there are some federal programs to replace lead pipes. And that infrastructure is from where the treatment unit is to the people's homes, but it only goes up to the meter at people's homes. And then they still have lead pipes within their home. So perhaps some of this resources could be used for the disadvantaged to be able to replace the pipes with non-lead based pipes from their meter and throughout their home.
Thank you, Wilma. We appreciate you. Angela, I'm not sure if we have if you've raised your hand again, but I didn't want to proceed without acknowledging you.
No.
Okay. And I'll pause to give folks an opportunity to gather their thoughts. We've heard some very, very good input tonight. We're appreciative of the information shared. Angelina, if you would like to unmute yourself, please.
Oh, I did raise my hand. I wasn't sure if I pushed it. I've been kind of like debating whether or not to say this. This is like a new forum for me. A lot of our work does not like involve EPA, like I mentioned in my comment. You know, a lot of our applications are more like USDA oriented. So anyhow, I'm just like in grant mode, trying to think of like, how do we connect our needs to the kind of funding opportunity that is kind of being laid out here. And I just wanted to add, and I don't know what the solution is here, but as coastal environments are eroded and oyster fisheries throughout the Gulf are declining, farmed oysters are becoming more prevalent in the state, but our permitting has not really caught up to that practice. And so even though it's an environmental adaptation and one that is more sustainable and produces, you know, regionally important food crop, farmers that are trying to go into that realm are running into regulatory prohibitions. So just laying that out as a problem, and I'm not sure how funding could support that other than, you know, like research for best practices for regulating these kind of farms, or I don't know, but it is definitely something that folks have run into that impedes their ability to make a living, which impedes their sustainability and, you know, this nascent industry in general. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you, Angelina. I invite others to provide input as well. One of the other measures that oh, Jane, go ahead. I will pause in terms of what I was going to say. I welcome you, Jane. Jane, if you want to unmute yourself.
Sorry about
That's
that.
Okay.
I know I've already advocated for community gardens, but one thing that I think we've learned in terms of environmental education over the past 10 years that we've been working in the schools. So we've built partnerships with over 100 schools and community organizations, building small gardens that people can start learning about sustainable practices and things like that. And in a sort of retrospective review of our work and successes, I know that in terms of making lasting differences and greater strides, it really has been with our younger elementary school kids who are just naturally curious, open to doing things differently, open to trying new things in terms of like we bring in, you know, snacks of different fruits they may not have tried before and vegetables and things like that. So I guess I was just thinking that in terms of environmental education and outreach, the hands-on experience of the garden with the younger generation that can create sort of a lasting change to our community. We've seen in the past 10 years, leaders emerge from our program that are wanting to pursue careers and the betterment of our community through this kind of work or through agriculture, which is really exciting. And we're just starting to see, I think, the peak of that. But one, you know, getting into the schools, getting in when they're very young, and going through, we've shifted our focus towards the curriculum to talk about all kinds of different environmental aspects and using the garden as a platform to learn about those things in a hands-on way. That's really helped, I think, in our direct area, in the central Louisiana area, and we could do a lot more with that. So I'd like to see more younger children get introduced to these concepts at a very early age. I want to see community gardens in every classroom. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you, Jane. We appreciate that. And actually, those are the types of projects we funded in the past. So it's definitely right up our alley. Thank you for that. Are there others that would like to provide input? One of the other measures that we talked about is community resilience. One of the projects that we have implemented in the past was a water conservation tools project that was post Harvey and a community resilience index with local tribes. Are there community resilience needs in your community? Or any other needs as it relates to the 4 measures, habitat restoration, environmental education, use an example that Jane provided a few moments ago, in water quality. Again, we want to make sure this request for applications is truly reflective of the needs and concerns of your communities. And we want to hear from you. So please don't hold back. If there are things that you want to bring to our attention, please do. Angelina.
I know it's me again. I feel like
oh, you're good.
Angela here. But I mean, our community has dealt with 2 prominent food access crises in the past couple of years. First was COVID, which was granted not an environmental issue, but then with Ida and Ida recovery. There are a lot of things we learned from our producer network about people's lack of access to the resources that they need to be hurricane resilient. We're 6-7 months after the storm, kind of facing the next hurricane season, and I still have producers who haven't been able to return to market over really basic stuff, like they can apply for equip grants to get hoop houses, but they can't get them insured, or they can't afford to or have the resources to like take down the plastic to prep for a storm. And so anyhow, they just kind of take their chances, and then our food system loses those producers temporarily or potentially permanently. So I guess there's just a big it's such a hard thing for people. I mean, hurricanes have like always been a reality here, right? But the increased frequency and increased intensity has just kind of created a new landscape that it doesn't seem like people are really prepared to contend with. And so again, I guess all my points are about consistency of a local food supply, which again, as we've seen through COVID and through Ida, like those are the supply chains that can still connect people to food even when industrial food systems collapse and grocery store shelves are empty. Not only do we have these sustainable local food options, but they are also the more resilient in the face of these kinds of threats.
Very good point, Angelina. Thank you so much. Cynthia, you may unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. In listening to her talk about food supplies, it struck me that it would be very resiliency means being able to initially respond adequately to a disaster situation. And we found out from the Laura Delta conglomeration of events that if we don't have things pre-staged, we don't really have the ability to respond quickly and thereby save a lot of grief and damage. If we could have funding for developing pre-staging areas, and I know that the government does it, but they worry about things like I'm not sure what, but it's not actually things that we need on the ground as soon as a hurricane passes through. Just basic things that we couldn't get: mosquito spray, water, tarps, gas cans, blah, blah, blah. If we could have money that we could put to use on having those things staged in areas of our community, say in Calcasieu Parish, that are further north, but not in Cameron or South Calcasieu Parish, that get hit as hard, and have a structure to do that, funding for a structure to put that into place, that would be awesome.
Thank you, Cynthia. Angela, if you want to unmute, please.
Yeah, I know I wasn't gonna say anything, but going back to Angelina's point, I think for all of us, and I know we've all been studied to death, but to have that vulnerability assessment at what point can we start to measure our inputs against our outputs in the needs that we have, and looking at what you said, Angelina, about the growers, some not having access to even take our resources to take down the plastic from hoop houses. Do we know how many people that affects? Do we know how many people are in crisis? And I read something today, 40 million people as the result of the pandemic did not have access to food, for one reason or another. 40 million people. That's a lot of people that went without food because of a disaster, and then you exacerbate that with floods, fires, hurricanes, in the pandemic. So all of those things roll back to the intersection of climate and public health. So how do we begin to incorporate all of those factors to adjust to that are rapidly changing the way we live and how we live? So I would like to see if we could get technical assistance to help us plan these things and be able to measure our successes as organizations, because at the end of the day, we know it's metrics that will allow for us to get additional funding and to leverage funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. We appreciate you. Are there others that would like to provide input tonight? We definitely want to hear from you. Again, remember, you can press star 9 on your phone to raise your hand if you're interested in providing input tonight. One of the other measures that we talked about was water quality improvements, and how it can also help to improve habitat restoration and community resilience in communities as well. Are there any water quality improvement needs that your community may have? And as Mark talked about early on, water quality, habitat, and community resilience, they all lead to ancillary benefits as well in terms of environmental education. And then, of course, with the water quality, it has its community resilience benefits also. And so we want to hear from you all to make sure our efforts are truly reflective of the needs and concerns that you have. We want you to help us invest the 1 million in Louisiana. We want to hear from you all tonight. Do we have any additional input? We've received some valuable information, and we don't want to miss anyone. We want to give you all an opportunity to express issues and concerns as you think of them. We want this $5 million investment as highlighted on the screen to truly speak to the needs and concerns of your communities. Do we have any additional comments or input at this time? And I realized too, I think we're getting tornado warnings. I don't want to belabor if we need to get off and tend to our families to make sure we're all safe. That's most important. And I don't see any additional hands, and I'll check with my team. Andrea, just want to double check with you. Do you see any hands raised?
No, ma'am, no hands raised.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you all for the valuable input received tonight. We truly appreciate your time and attention. This is not your last opportunity to inform development of the future request for applications. We are hosting listening sessions next week, and we have one scheduled for Thursday. Thursday's listening session will target the folks in Alabama. We're targeting Florida on Tuesday and Texas on Thursday of next week. We also plan to post tonight's the recording of tonight's session, I should say, on our website, which you see here on the screen. And we also will have the questions and the answers posted as well, with the 4 measures that we displayed on the screen so that you have a frame of reference. So if you would like to provide input later, we encourage you to do so. And you're also encouraged to listen in on the other sessions. We'll take your input there as well. Thank you so much and have a great night and be safe.